Welcome to part 2 of listening and evaluating. So we just finished talking about different barriers that there are to the listening process via internal and external noise. So let's talk about ways in which we can have audiences stop paying attention because of things that are going on in their own minds. The first one is fear. The audience members are listening to something and they're fearful of the information that is being told to them. They kind of shut down in a way because they are not interested in hearing information that scares them or makes them uncomfortable. Think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That's safety, which is the second building block. Sometimes when you instill fear in somebody, you start to hone in on their safety needs and making them feel uncomfortable, and that can prevent a barrier to listening. The second one is this idea of a don't care attitude, which somebody can have when they, like the term is said, just don't care. They don't care about the information that is being told to them. And so they kind of like fluff it off. They decide at the very beginning that the attending section that they're not paying attention to it. They're just going to be hearing it rather than listening because they don't think it's going to be adding any value to their lives. The third one is to prejudge the situation, and that is based on either the speaker or the topic. Somebody is going to judge the situation without ever hearing the information. So maybe they know something about the speaker or they know something about the information that's being told to them that they kind of already decided how it's going to go, and that is when they prejudge the information. So that kind of clouds what they are thinking about as they are listening to the speech. They already prejudged the information. So the accurate information that the speaker is giving is all being colored through this lens of this idea that they already know information and they can't really absorb the good, valuable information that they're getting from the speaker because it's all being clouded by that. Number 4 is established difference, and that is when the audience member or the person listening already feels differently about the topic, so they've already decided that they don't care. Established difference is typically polarizing topics, like let's use, for example, gun control. If somebody gets up and talks about why we should have increased gun control in our country and somebody listening has an established difference of, I don't think so. We should lower the regulations. We should allow people to have more guns than what they currently do. That's an established difference. And that means the person is going to be very critical of the information that they're hearing and sometimes not pay attention because they don't feel like they are in line, attitudes, values, and beliefs with the person that is giving the information to them. I'm going to skip over script writing because established knowledge is actually very similar to established difference, but it's a little different. Established knowledge is when you already know so much about a topic that you feel like you can't really learn anything new. So you become very kind of critical of the information. If I was that person, I would do it this way. Oh, when I was in school, I learned it this way. Those are the types of things that people with established knowledge do because they, rather than choosing to actively pay attention and choosing to just absorb all the information, they start thinking about, well, I already know this and I already learned this. Well, I learned this a different way. And that kind of gets very critical and kind of, again, clouds their mind of the information that they are hearing. So established difference is you feel differently about a topic. Established knowledge is when you feel like you know so much about it that you start to become very critical of the information because you already know. Script writing is similar to established knowledge because it is that you know so much about a topic, not that you become critical of the information, but instead of listening to the information, you are actually writing the speech in your mind as somebody is speaking. So remember a couple weeks ago, we talked about the fact that you can speak slower than somebody can listen. So you have, I think you can speak like anywhere from 100 to 200 words a minute, but we can hear and listen 600 to 800 words per minute. So somebody can think quicker than you can get the information out of your mind, or I'm sorry, out of your mouth. So script writing is a perfect example of that because they are already thinking ahead. They are kind of writing your speech for you. They are thinking, well, if I was this person, I would say this. I hope they don't forget to talk about this. Those are the types of things that they are very critical of because they're kind of script writing your speech in their mind. So those are the 6 different ways in which we can be very critical when we're active listening. So let's talk about evaluating your speech. So who's evaluating your speech in this class? In this class, there's 3 people evaluating your speech, to be technical. There's me, obviously, I'm evaluating your speech as the instructor, but you are evaluating your speech as yourself in your peer evaluations, and then you are also evaluating your classmates or your peers. You are taking a critical lens, and by critical, I don't mean to argue or to create argument in any way. Critical lens means you are evaluating them to provide constructive feedback that will help and benefit them. When you are evaluating yourself, you are providing constructive, critical thinking level information back to help yourself and to help repeat things that you've done well and change things that you didn't do as well or as well as you thought you would. So in this class, we've got 3 different levels, right? We've got yourself, you've got your classmates, and you've got me grading you as the instructor of the class. So when you are evaluating your classmates, what I'm going to ask of you is a thing called active listening, which means all those things that we talked about, external, internal noises, things that are going to cloud your judgment, the I don't care attitude, the established difference, the established knowledge, the script writing, all those things that we just reviewed that could potentially get in the way of listening to somebody. When we get rid of all that, when we choose to pay attention fully with 100% of our conscious brain, that's called active listening. That is giving the speaker your full attention. Now, as a side note, active listening is a good interpersonal relationship skill, and you should practice it in all areas of your life. But in public speaking, we give our audience our full attention so that we can show them the respect that they deserve for all of the time and energy that they put into developing their speech to give to you, just as you would kind of require or expect that respect back when it's your turn to get up and give a speech. You want people to pay attention to you, right? You want to know that this time and energy you put into creating your speech, doing all the research, practice for hours and hours and hours, that is actually valuable to the people that are listening, right? So active listening, that is what I'm asking of you. So when you're active listening, these are the things that you ask yourself to make sure that you are actually active listening. The first is, am I giving the speaker my full attention? If you are active listening. You are not thinking about the grocery list you have to make. You're not thinking about the assignment that is due in another class. You are not in a room full of all different types of noises that can pull your attention 5,000 different ways. You are in a quiet area where you can focus 100% of your attention on the speaker. Am I actively trying to comprehend this message is the second thing you ask yourself. Am I fully paying attention, right? Am I engaged in this 100%? The third one, and this is going to be something that you'll have to take with you in further situations or other situations because we're not going to have this ability with the way the rest of our class is set up, but that is, am I signaling the speaker with appropriate feedback, which means, do I look like I'm paying attention? Am I smiling when I know things are funny or when I'm trying to give a positive feedback back to the speaker? Am I looking very stern when I want them to know that things are pretty serious, right? So I always tell students that I do this as much as I can when you're up speaking because I want you to read off of my face. I want you to know when I think that you're doing a great job, I'm going to look like I'm happy and I'm smiling. And if you're talking about something very serious, I'm going to have a very serious face, right? Because it's not a joke, the information that you're giving out to us when it's very kind of stern and serious information. So that's also, again, a good life skill to have in interpersonal communication and relationships, is to make sure that you're signaling the speaker with good, appropriate feedback. That's obviously facial expressions and body expressions and what you're doing non-verbally, that type of thing. The last one is, am I listening critically? So am I listening for a deeper level of meaning? Am I listening to provide good, solid feedback? That is the idea of critical listening, is the good questions back, the good feedback back. Critical listening, just saying critical sometimes gets this negative connotation, but actually critical listening and critical thinking is this idea that you are going on a deeper level. You are trying to collect information to make sure that what you are hearing and what you are giving back to somebody is actually good quality information. You're not just taking something on surface level because somebody tells you to do something. You're actually thinking about, why is this important to me? And let me ask some follow-up questions that are going to be beneficial for people to hear. That is what critical listening is. So when you're evaluating your speech, what I'm asking for you is to use these good critical listening skills. We want these evaluations to build your confidence. We want your peer evaluations to actually give you just as much you did great information than this is what you could possibly change information. And the third one, and I would argue kind of the most important, is that all of this information actually comes together to make you a better communicator. It makes you listen more intently. It makes you provide better feedback back to the person that is speaking or the person that's requiring your feedback. It helps build your confidence because you have learned things that do work and don't work. And when you learn the things that do work, you want to repeat that. And when you learn things that didn't work, then you want to change them, right? So it makes you become a better communicator. So what am I looking for you in this class? When you are watching speeches, when you are thinking about what you are doing as a person and your own work, so your self-evaluations, I'm looking for you to listen to and pay attention to the message and the presentation. In the message, I want you to hone in on the topic, the research, and the message. So what I mean by that is this topic good for audience analysis? Is the research good quality research? Did they use it within 5 years? Did they not use the websites that Katie said that you can't use, right? Did they have good oral citations that make me feel like you did your good research? Is the message organized well? Do I feel like it flows well? All those things that we learned up until we had to take a little bit of a break, all those important step-by-step things that we did in that waterfall, that is all part of the message. So pay attention to that, and then pay attention to the presentation. So listen to the language that people are choosing to use, the delivery style, right? So what information are they giving and how well are they delivering it? Do they have good verbal skills? Do they have good nonverbal skills, right? All that stuff that we luckily were able to meet face to face and talk about, you're actually honing in on that stuff and providing feedback about it. And then lastly, the visual aid, which I think might have been our last week together. We talked about the importance of visual aids and what's good and what's not good and what's good quality images and what's not good quality images. So think about that in terms of how effective they are in the process. So in your peer evaluations, I want you to do a couple things. I want you to offer constructive feedback. I want you to be positive in the information that you are giving to them. I want you to always offer improvement tips. So you don't say things like, your speech was disorganized. What you want to say is, your speech didn't flow well. Perhaps next time try a topical flow. That seems to work better for these types of speeches, right? So I always say to students that it's not just, you did this wrong, period. It's, you did this wrong, here's how to help you, or you did this great, here's what you need to repeat in the future speeches to continue to be great. So always offer these tips in addition to what you're going to say. You always want to avoid attacking somebody. You never want to say things like, your speech was awful, your speech sucked, right? Those are absolutely, they're demeaning comments, so that's number 5, but they're just hurtful and they're tactful and they are not good life skills to have, not good communication skills to have. And then the last one is that you are objective. So that means that you remove yourself from anything that you feel about somebody or something. The topic might be something you don't agree with, but be objective, right? Pull yourself out of that situation and actually look at how well your classmate did and give them feedback based on that. So constructive feedback, things that they can do. Remember, constructive means how to change and then how to replicate good things, right? So it can mean 2 different things. You will be doing a discussion board post as part of this week's assignment. And so the details are up here in front of you. I want to review with you that the topic I want you to go over is to pick a time, really think about this, and pick a time when you had to choose between listening and hearing. And why did you choose listening? And what happened as a result of that? Why was it valuable? What did you learn? And why is the listening process important in that situation? So your original post, you will have 1 to 2 paragraphs answering the topic below, and then you will respond to 3 of your classmates with 4 to 5 sentences in response to the information that they provided in their original post. So 1 post from you originally, 3 in response to your classmates.